Please ignore the rain in the background. I apologize for Earth weather system. So Dandadan has come to an end. A sad day, but a phenomenal season. These past 12 episodes have been an absolute blast to watch, but we might not have to wait all too long for the second season. See, there was rumors before this anime released that it would be a 2-cour. That would be the first 12 episodes, a break, and then the remaining 12 episodes, around 24 in total. However, because season 2 has been officially announced, that second cour of 12 episodes will now be releasing in summer of 2025, around June, July. This is great news. Here is a official poster, obviously showcasing what to expect, and there's some surprises on here. Season 1 ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, the start of a very massive arc. This announcement will help quell a little bit of that dissatisfaction. I know people were excited to see Jiji's arc, but we'll only have to wait 6 to 7 months. For now though, let's talk about the journey that we had. Coming into Dandadan's anime, I was nervous. This is a story that I have been very attached to before it even had an English release. There's a small period of time right at the beginning where there was no English translation for it. So while it was getting weekly chapters, they weren't getting translated because it wasn't picked up officially. It was a weird time, and after the community started to grow rather rapidly, the response for that English translation quickly came through. Watching this community grow, watching this story expand, watching these beautiful characters and the stories being told every single week was fun. It was energetic, it was fascinating, and it still is almost 200 chapters later. I love this story and I love what it tries to do. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It loves to play around with all of its quirk and chaoticness and really just lets itself be free. It also helps that it has one of the most talented artists in the industry, being able to produce some of the most spectacular, beautiful pieces of artwork that you will see on a week-to-week schedule. That's not me exaggerating, by the way. I wish I could show you how incredibly talented this author is and how much they actually produce. Talks about an anime has always been consistent, but no one knew what studio would best fit this type of story, and for good reason. This is a chaotic story. It's all over the place. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot of quirkiness to it. It's goofy. It's ridiculous. Having that translated to an anime is a much more difficult task, and it's mostly because a lot more things can go wrong. You have to get the right voice actors, the right music, the right type of animation, the proper color palette, how do all of these things mingle together successfully, sequentially. You're figuring out a much bigger equation compared to the manga. So while the manga had everything going for it, an anime was looking grim, scary, and it doesn't help that the industry is so tumultuous. It's hit or miss whether you get a good studio, and even if you do, you're not promised a perfect anime adaptation, and that's because people are overworked, underpaid, understaffed, not enough time to produce, not enough time to create, not enough time to spread their talent. It's a real shame where you see beautiful stories get a very reputable studio with talented people and they just don't have enough time to cook. You could throw billions of dollars at a production, but if you don't give them enough time to truly do what they need to do, it's not going to work. So, when I found out that Science Saru would be doing Dandadan's anime, I think I let out the biggest sigh of relief. They just done Scott Pilgrim. I loved that show. If they took anything from Scott Pilgrim and put that into Dandadan, almost perfect, 1-to-1. So I was keen and I was anxious, waiting patiently to see some sort of teaser just to get a vibe, see what they wanted to do, what colors, what voice work, what animation style would they go for, how many different techniques would they utilize. Is this going to be a heavy production thing, or is it going to be something that's done with a labor of love? Fast forward, it turned out pretty perfectly. I know it must have been very difficult for them to visualize how to produce this type of show. Like I said before, all of these different things that you have to get in line in order for them to work sequentially. The animation, the music, the voice acting, the style, the atmosphere that you want to bring, the color palette you use. All of these things obviously build that Dandadan picture, but if one falls, if one crumbles, everything can get thrown out of whack. So you need to be tight You need to be consistent. And they ticked every single box effortlessly. Since the very first episode, how they introduced things, how they were playing upon things stylistically, the type of color palette and range of color that they were utilizing, how chaotic the energy felt, how fast it was going through it, they really captured the essence of what Dandadan is all about. A beautiful balance of all of these chaotic elements that get their moment to shine. I can't express production-wise how impressive that is. Having moments to breathe, to emphasize a point is really powerful. And time again, they proved that worth tenfold with their characters, with their interactions, with their animation portfolio and techniques, with the goofy moment cutaways that feel so out of place but perfect. Realistically, production-wise, what more could you want? Science Saru and everyone involved have knocked it out the park. They have done a brilliant job, and I have no concerns for season 2. To me, this feels like a labor of love, a passion project, something they want to do right by, and undoubtedly, they have proven it every single week. So creating an anime is one thing, but elevating source material, that is a bigger picture, a bigger conversation. We can mimic things one to one, and it'll be great, it'll look good, it'll be serviceable, but how do we elevate? How do we evolve? How do we pay respect to the original source while also doing our own thing, putting our own spin, our own direction, our own identity, the quote-unquote Science Saru signature? Dandadan is consistent to its core. It knows exactly where its strength lies. Science Saru always have powerful animation through and through, but you'll notice where they shine is within these specific strengths. Dandadan is heavy on its colors to emphasize certain emotions or actions or sequences, symbolism, themes, anything that a color could represent, they hone in on it and expand upon it. So each arc, each alien, each curse has a thematic and symbolic color gesture towards it. This might not mean much for you, but viewing it makes it a very distinct experience, something very memorable. It might not be your favorite color, but utilizing it to its fullest, framing every piece of material off that color is really impressive. Another strength is comedy. They have elevated this tenfold from the manga. I'm not a big comedy person. I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily seek it out. There is a goofiness to Dandadan's comedy though. Some would consider it corny. How they have evolved it is really fascinating. The strength of Dandadan's humor relies very heavily on its voice acting, and that voice being a fast cut or jut to some sort of animation gimmick, a rough outline or sketch of a character, weirdly drawn facial expressions, contorted, twisted, fisheye lens, but then also zoom-ins, low quality. You'll notice at its height, it's very sharp and snappy. It's not meant to last all too long, but it's meant to throw you off. And 9 times out of 10, it does it beautifully. Of course, general base of humor relies on chemistry, and there's an endless amount. Both within its sub and dub department, they've done a great job for their voice actors to put them on a pedestal and have them compete back and forth. And because of it, it provides a natural chemistry between them. It feels real, it feels energetic, but it also feels playful and not artificially. Like these are just two friends goofing around and hanging out, having a good time. Of course, that all rotates around the character's personality, but another strength that they have excelled within is the dramatic, the sad, the suffering, the horrifying. There's a couple of moments within this season that they have done so much justice for, arguably some of the more harder moments to get right, and it's because these moments are so rare in the story. Dandadan is not filled with a lot of emotional moments, tragic moments. It has its fair share of emotional range, but these moments are designed differently. I would consider them being one-offs, and they happen basically once an arc, some more dramatic than others. The one that we get in season 1 is very full on, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. It's a surprise for viewers. How they elevated that scene, the music they chose, the visual direction with the POV, like first person aesthetic, and just the overall rawness of that sequence. the brutality, the screaming, the direction that they went with. Horrifying, of course, but perfectly depicted. Like if Dandadan is this fun, playful, very bright and bubbly show, this moment here just throws you upside down. And it's because of that contrast that it's already so powerful. Acro Silky is one of many phenomenal scenes. Season 2, you will also see another massive scene that I'm curious to see how they elevate. If they get anywhere close to Acro Silky, it's gonna make people cry. That flashback was powerful. That ending for that episode with Ira, them coming full circle, truly just a magnificent scene. I am grateful for this show. I'm grateful for Science Saru, and I wish them all the best for season 2. Personally, one of the highest produced, lovable, best animes in recent times. There's so much to love about this production, about this story, about these characters, about all of the effort that has gone into it, the payoff, but also how lively they feel. Momo and Ken are such beautiful characters. Ira and Jiji are fun and lovely. Seiko and Turbo Granny, such an odd cast of characters all coming together so effortlessly, so beautifully. Hands down a phenomenal season, and I'm excited to see the future.